Rules of the Game by Neil Strauss. I want you to imagine something. Picture a young woman, maybe 60 years old. Not a vibrant, graceful 60, but a tired 60. Her hair is a mix of black and gray, her face is marked by pores the size of peas, and her body, as the author describes it, is like a bag of gravel. She's a single mother, and she spent her entire life sacrificing everything for her autistic son. She lives in the same apartment building as our guide for today, a young writer who, at this point in his life, could have just about any woman he wanted. And yet, every time he sees this woman in the hallway, he feels a strange pull. A tingle. An energy he can't explain. He finds himself wanting to kiss her. It makes no logical sense. He lives in Los Angeles, surrounded by some of the most beautiful women in the world, yet at night, he finds himself thinking about the 60-year-old crone down the hall. Why? This is the question that sits at the very heart of the book we're exploring today. It's a question about a force of nature that governs so much of our lives, yet remains a mystery to most of us. That force is attraction. And as our author, Neil Strauss, would come to learn, attraction is not a choice. Welcome to the journey through Rules of the Game. This isn't just a book. For many, it has been a secret map. Neil Strauss, a celebrated writer for publications like the New York Times and Rolling Stone, was a man who had a front-row seat to the lives of rock stars and celebrities. He knew all about fame, fortune, and success. But when it came to his own love life, he was a lonely spectator, sitting on the sidelines, watching other men get the girl, wondering what secret they possessed that he didn't. His frustration led him down a rabbit hole, into a hidden world, a secret society of men who had dedicated their lives to decoding the art of attraction. They called themselves pickup artists, and they had turned seduction into a science. What Strauss discovered was a set of rules, a game, that, once learned, could transform anyone from a shy, invisible wallflower into a person of magnetic confidence. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share that map with you. This isn't about learning a few clever lines to use at a party. This is about understanding the fundamental principles of human connection, confidence, and charisma. My promise to you is this: by the end of our time together, you will understand the invisible architecture of attraction. You will learn how to break free from the limiting beliefs that hold you back, how to become a more engaging and confident version of yourself, and how to build a life that naturally draws others to you. So, settle in. We're about to decode the rules of the game. Every great journey begins with a problem. For Neil Strauss, and for so many of us, the problem was a feeling of being invisible. He describes his younger self as lonely, desperate, and woefully inexperienced, sitting mutely on the sidelines while women obsessed over guys whose appeal he just couldn't understand. At his lowest point, he even started surfing mail-order bride catalogs, believing there was nowhere else to turn. He was trapped in a prison, but the bars weren't made of steel. They were made of his own fears, his own insecurities, his own limiting beliefs. And this is where our journey truly begins. Before you can learn any rules or techniques, the book tells us, you must first confront the warden of that prison, your own mind. Think about the stories you tell yourself. Maybe you believe you're not good-looking enough, or rich enough, or funny enough to attract the people you desire. Maybe you believe that nice guys always finish last, and that women are only drawn to jerks. Or maybe you tell yourself that if you just be yourself, the right person will eventually come along, using it as an excuse to never grow or improve. Strauss calls these limiting beliefs. They are ideas you hold about yourself and the world that, while they feel true, are actually holding you back from success. And the book's first, and perhaps most important, lesson is that you must dismantle them. Let's take that old myth about nice guys. The book offers a profound reframing of this idea. It argues that the real dichotomy isn't between nice guys and jerks. It's between weak guys and strong guys. Women, and people in general, are drawn to strength. Not necessarily physical strength, but the kind of inner strength that makes others feel safe and secure. A man who is too nice is often just a man who is afraid of disapproval. He's not acting from a place of genuine kindness, but from a fear of what others will think. So, the lesson isn't to stop being nice. It's to become strong and nice. What about looks? Strauss, who describes himself as 5'6", scrawny, bald, and big-nosed, was convinced his appearance was his biggest obstacle. But once he stepped into the game, he discovered that looks matter far less than he thought. What matters more is how you present yourself, your grooming, your style, your posture, and the energy you project. He found that his average looks were actually an advantage. He could come in under the radar, appearing far less intimidating than a square-jawed male model. The problem was never his looks, but his limiting beliefs about his looks. So, the very first step in this journey is not to go out and talk to anyone. It's to sit down with yourself and perform a social assessment. The book asks you to answer a few simple questions. How do you think other people perceive you? And how would you like to be perceived? What are 3 behaviors you'd like to change, and 3 new ones you'd like to adopt? This is about setting an intention. It's about deciding who you want to become. Because you can't hit a target you can't see. With this new mindset, the journey moves from the internal to the external, but it starts with the smallest possible step. The book doesn't throw you into a crowded nightclub. The first mission is simple. Make small talk with 5 strangers. They can be male or female, old or young. A cashier, a person in line at the supermarket, anyone. The goal isn't to get a phone number. The goal is simply to open your mouth and fill the silence, to prove to yourself that you can start a conversation without the world ending. The next day, you do it again, but this time, you have to make eye contact and notice the color of each person's eyes. This seems trivial, but it's a powerful exercise. It forces you to be present, to connect with another human being, even for a fleeting moment. It trains you to see the person in front of you, instead of getting lost in the anxious chatter inside your own head. These early missions are like a fitness program for your social life. You're not lifting heavy weights yet, you're just stretching, warming up the muscles of conversation and confidence that may have gone unused for years. As the days progress, the challenges gently build. You're asked to work on your voice. Strauss explains that when he started, he talked too fast, too softly, and swallowed his words. He learned from a vocal coach that your voice is your identity. A calm, slow, deep voice commands authority and makes people want to listen. A fast, quiet, nervous voice signals a lack of confidence. The book provides simple exercises, like practicing speaking from your diaphragm and consciously slowing your pace, to transform your voice into a more powerful instrument. Then comes posture. Before you even say a word, your body language has already spoken volumes. The book teaches a simple wall stance. Stand with your heels, butt, shoulders, and the back of your head against a wall for 1 minute. This commits the feeling of confident, upright posture to your muscle memory. When you carry yourself with your head held high and your shoulders back, you not only look more confident to others, you actually feel more confident yourself. You see, the foundation of the game isn't about trickery. It's about becoming fundamentally more attractive from the inside out. It's about upgrading your own operating system. This includes everything down to your grooming. On day 5, the challenge is to perform at least one task from a detailed grooming checklist. This could be anything from getting a better haircut, to whitening your teeth, to getting a professional style consultation at a clothing store. The philosophy is simple. You are a package, and you want that package to be as appealing as possible. This isn't about being fake. It's about taking pride in your appearance and signaling to the world that you are a man of value who cares about the details. As Strauss puts it, any guy can become good-looking. It's a skill, just like anything else. And it's only after all this foundational work, on your mindset, your social skills, your voice, your posture, and your appearance, that the book begins to introduce the more strategic elements of the game. This is where we get to the heart of the interaction, starting with the most feared moment of all, the approach. Strauss makes a crucial distinction. There is no such thing as a pickup line. If there were a single magical sentence that made women fall in love, every man would be using it. What does exist, however, is a process, and that process begins with an opener. An opener is not a cheesy line like, "Did it hurt when you fell from heaven?" An opener is simply a way to start a fun, engaging, and non-threatening conversation. The most effective openers, the book teaches, are indirect. They don't reveal any romantic interest at all. Instead, they appear spontaneous and are motivated by genuine curiosity. For example, Strauss shares an opener he used one night after a debate with a friend. "Hey, how good were you at high school geography?" "Okay, how many continents are there?" 7. "And how many oceans?" 5. "So here's the question. What are the 5 oceans?" My friend and I have been stuck on this all day. As ridiculous as it sounds, it started a conversation every time. Why does this work? Because it's not about you or her. It's a fun, trivial puzzle. It gives the group a reason to talk and interact without feeling like they are being hit on. The comedian Chris Rock has a routine where he says that anything a man says to a woman he doesn't know really just translates to, "How about some dick?" The goal of an indirect opener is to start a conversation without saying, "How about some dick?" To make openers even more effective, the book introduces 2 key subtleties: the time constraint and the route. When you approach a group of strangers, they're subconsciously asking 2 questions. What does this person want? And how long are they going to stay here? A time constraint answers the second question immediately. You start by saying something like, "Hey, I have to get back to my friends in a second, but really quickly." This instantly lowers their defenses. They know you're not going to linger awkwardly and suck the energy out of their group. You're just stopping by for a moment. A route answers the first question. It gives your opener a legitimate context. For example, in the 5 oceans opener, the route is that you were just having a debate with your friend. This explains why you're asking that particular question at that particular moment. With an opener, a time constraint, and a route, you have a nearly foolproof way to start a conversation with almost anyone, anywhere. But starting the conversation is just the first step. Where do you go from there? This brings us to the next crucial phase: demonstrating value. This is a concept that's often misunderstood. It doesn't mean bragging about your job or how much money you make. Demonstrating value means showing, not telling, that you are an interesting, intelligent, and high-status individual. You are the prize, not the other way around. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through storytelling. The book dedicates an entire day to crafting and telling compelling personal stories. A good story allows you to convey your best qualities, your humor, your adventurousness, your intelligence, without having to state them directly. Instead of saying, "I'm a funny guy," you tell a funny story that makes her laugh. Another way to demonstrate value is to teach her something interesting about herself. This is where the book introduces routines that feel a bit like fun, playful personality tests. One of the most famous is the rings routine. You notice a ring she's wearing or not wearing and explain that, in ancient Greek culture, the finger a person chooses for a ring says something about their personality. The thumb represents Poseidon and independence. The index finger is Zeus, representing power and dominance. The ring finger is Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. The routine is a vehicle. It allows you to be playful, to create a fun interaction, and to showcase your knowledge and creativity. It elevates the conversation beyond the boring, "So, what do you do?" that she's heard 100 times that night. Now, this next concept is perhaps the most counterintuitive and the most powerful in the entire book. It's called disqualification. Think about it. Beautiful women are used to men fawning over them. They assume every guy who approaches them wants something from them. Disqualification flips that script entirely. It's the art of playfully demonstrating that you are not interested in her romantically. For example, you might say, "You're a cool girl. You'd be like the perfect little sister I never had." Or, if she has blonde hair, you could say, "It's a shame you're blonde. I've only ever dated brunettes. We'd never work out." This must be done with a smile, with a playful, teasing energy. It's not about being mean, it's about being different. When you take yourself out of the pool of potential suitors, you immediately stand out. You become a challenge. Suddenly, she's the one who has to win you over. This is the essence of playing hard to get, and it taps into a fundamental aspect of human nature. We want what we can't have. Disqualification is part of a larger concept called frame control. The frame is the context of the interaction. Most men walk up to a woman and immediately enter her frame. They are seeking her approval. The goal of the game is to get her to enter your frame. You are the one giving out approval. You have high standards. You are screening her to see if she's cool enough to hang out with you. This shift in mindset is profound. When you stop seeking validation and start giving it, you radiate a confidence that is incredibly attractive. But the game isn't all about playful teasing and demonstrating value. If you stay in that mode for too long, you'll just seem like an entertaining clown. At some point, you need to shift gears and create a genuine emotional connection. This is the rapport phase. This is where you find commonalities. You share stories from your past, your dreams for the future. You listen deeply to what she says, and show that you understand her on a level that most people don't. This is where you can use a technique called cold reading. Cold reading is the art of making a general observation about a person sound like a profound, specific insight. Psychics and fortune tellers use this all the time. For example, you might say, "You know, I get the sense that you can be very outgoing and social at times, but there's also a part of you that's more private and needs to recharge alone." This is true for almost everyone, but when delivered with confidence and sincerity, it can make someone feel truly seen and understood. The goal of the rapport phase is to build trust and comfort. It's to move from being two strangers playing a game to being two people who feel like they were meant to meet. So, you've opened the conversation, demonstrated your value, built rapport, and now you can feel the connection is there. How do you move from a great conversation to getting a phone number and setting up a date? This is another area where most men stumble. They awkwardly ask for the number at the end of the conversation, putting the woman on the spot. The book teaches a much smoother, more natural approach. First, you seed the idea of a future meeting. During the conversation, you casually mention a cool, interesting event you're going to later that week. "My friends and I are going to this new art gallery opening on Thursday. It's supposed to be incredible." You don't invite her yet. You just plant the seed. Then, later, as you're about to leave, you can say, "You know what? You should come to that gallery opening with us on Thursday. You'd really enjoy it." At this point, you don't ask for her number. Instead, you use a technique that is almost entirely non-verbal and nearly rejection-proof. You pull out a pen and a small piece of paper or a business card. You tear it in half. On one half, you write your name and number. Then, you hand her the blank half and the pen. 9 times out of 10, she will instinctively take them and write down her information. It's a fair exchange. You've offered your information, and the physical act of handing her the paper and pen creates a social momentum that is very difficult to refuse. Once you have the number, you have to master the phone game. The rules are simple. Don't seem needy. The book suggests texting first, with a callback to something funny or interesting from your conversation. For example, if you use the 5 oceans opener, you could text, "Just found out the name of the 5th ocean, by the way." It reestablishes the fun vibe and creates an open loop that makes her want to respond. The goal of the phone call or text is not to have a long, drawn-out conversation. It's simply to solidify the plans you already seeded. You keep it brief, fun, and confident. This entire process, from the first hello to the first date, is a carefully choreographed dance. Each step builds on the last. And the ultimate objective of the Stylelife Challenge is to get a date within 30 days. But as you go through this journey, you realize something. The game is not really about a set of rules for picking up women. It's a framework for radical self-improvement. The final days of the challenge focus on a model for personality development called LAS. VEGAS. It's an acronym for the 8 core attributes of an attractive personality: looks, adaptability, strength, value, emotional connection, goals, authenticity, and self-worth. The book asks you to rate yourself in each of these areas, to honestly assess your strengths and weaknesses. And it makes you realize that the ultimate goal is not to master a set of routines, but to become the kind of person who scores a 10 in all of these categories. A person who is so filled with value, confidence, and purpose that attraction is not something they have to do. It's simply a natural byproduct of who they are. The journey culminates on day 30 with a final mission: throw a dinner party. This might seem random, but it's the perfect synthesis of everything you've learned. It forces you to be a social leader, to bring interesting people together, to create a fun and valuable experience for others. You become the host of your own exciting life, and you invite the women you meet to join you. In the end, the most profound lesson from Rules of the Game is one that Strauss himself had to learn. He shares a story about a student who had memorized every routine, but was still failing miserably with women. Strauss finally realized the key distinction: the guy who fails is the one who goes out looking for women to make him feel good about himself. He is a taker of value. The guy who succeeds is the one who goes out and makes other people feel good about themselves. He is a giver of value. He radiates positive energy. He listens. He's fun to be around. He leaves people better than he found them. And that is the final transformation. The journey starts with a selfish desire: how can I get the girl? And ends with a much more powerful and attractive purpose: how can I bring value and joy to the people around me? The final mission in the book is perhaps the most telling. It asks you to look at yourself in the mirror. But instead of seeing the old you, the person you used to be, it challenges you to see the person you are becoming. A person who is confident, socially savvy, and in control of his own reality. Because, as the book reminds us, perception is reality. When you start to see yourself as that person, the rest of the world will, too. So, what do we take away from this incredible journey? When you strip away all the routines, the acronyms, and the techniques, what is the timeless wisdom at the core of Rules of the Game? For me, it boils down to a few fundamental truths. This book, at its heart, is not about deceiving women. It's about overcoming the deceptions we tell ourselves. It's a powerful argument that charisma, confidence, and social skill are not gifts you're born with. They are muscles. And like any muscle, they can be trained. The journey it lays out is a powerful reminder that growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. Every mission, from making small talk with a stranger to throwing a dinner party, is designed to push you just a little bit past what feels easy and safe. And it's in that space of slight discomfort that true transformation occurs. If you're looking to apply some of these lessons to your own life, here are a few simple actions you can take, starting today. First, embrace the 3-second rule. The next time you see someone you want to talk to, whether it's for romantic reasons, for business, or just out of curiosity, give yourself 3 seconds. If you don't act within those 3 seconds, you've let your mind talk you out of it. This simple rule is a powerful tool for short-circuiting hesitation and building a habit of taking action. Second, identify one limiting belief that you hold about yourself. Just one. Maybe it's "I'm not a creative person," or "I'm too shy to be a leader." Write it down. And then, just as the book teaches, question it. Ask yourself, was there ever a time when this wasn't true? Find one piece of evidence, no matter how small, that contradicts that belief. The simple act of questioning these self-imposed rules is the first step to rewriting them. And third, take one small action to upgrade your package. Look at the grooming checklist from day 5 and pick one thing. Maybe it's finally getting a haircut that makes you feel like $1,000,000. Maybe it's buying a new shirt that fits you perfectly. This isn't about vanity. It's about sending a signal to yourself, and to the world, that you are worthy of investment. When you feel good about how you look, you carry yourself differently. Your energy changes. And people respond to that. That was a summary of Rules of the Game by Neil Strauss. We've journeyed through the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. It can show you the landmarks and the main roads, but it can never replace the experience of actually walking the streets, smelling the food, and talking to the people. The real magic of this book happens when you read it yourself. It's in the quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple piece of advice resonates with you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this journey is one you want to take. If anything we've talked about today has sparked a curiosity in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself and the world around you. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable and it gave you a new perspective, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets us know we're on the right path, and it ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and keep growing together.